Okay, we're live. Welcome everybody to season 7. Holy crap, season 7 of the NCPL. Yeah, man. We're gonna break this thing down. How's that sound? That's crazy. 7 seasons. We expanded, as you can see. We got a new homepage here. We got a bunch of new logos, a la Num Nexus in the Toronto Tyrants. Where's Tavi? Right there. The Toronto Raptors. Yeah. So let's just kind of hop into this. Little spoiler on the draft pool. Just gonna show that off. All those top tier megas got taken. Just a little tease as to what's still available for possible future transactions. We got MJC joining us here. Oh, right now.
Good evening.
What is that timing? That's incredible.
Good evening. I know how to make an entrance.
That was so perfect. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I was just talking about how there's some demons left in the draft pool for possible future transactions if people so please. But yeah, let me get your team up here. We'll start with you. That's just too easy.
All right.
Okay. We now welcome on A Drive. Hashtag A Drive Army. Let us know what you were thinking, Mr. Bugcatcher.
So the word here is speed.
Yes.
I for once drafted some real speed tiers. Accidentally, dare I say. But I think that this team has potential if I play it well. Big if. Really like the combo of Beedrill, Mega, Galvantula, and Tapu Lele. I think that's going to be incredible for speed control. Denying priority while having the webs to make things slower than Beedrill, I think is going to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And especially having Halucha coming in with the potential to just unburden off the Psychic Seeds. I think that's just got some crazy potential off rip.
Yeah, I think Psychic Terrain plus Beedrill is like one of the best ways to run it. Like that's going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, I think this team is lacking a little bit in bulkiness. As you see, my defense and special defense average are quite low.
Yeah, isn't like Tapu Lele your best specialty defensive mon?
I think so.
By like
but
a
that being
significant
said,
margin.
couple of things get, I guess, biased by just Beedrill having horrible stats outside of attack and speed.
That is true.
And I think types wise, I have a wide variety like covering. So I think if I play my games right, my predictions right, I should be able to win a couple of games at least. If it was some couple really good cleaners and good ways to get chip, I think if my terrain isn't up, Ambipom is going to do really well just U-turning, like fake out U-turn, just to get my regenerator from Slowbro as well. So I think there's a fun potential. I think all those ones can carry their weight one way or another, but you just have to be playing it right.
The biggest concern I have for the team is that you don't have a flying resist. What Terra types did you choose on Gava?
I want electric, fighting, and water.
Okay, yeah. So you have one, and it requires a Terra, but that obviously that counts as one. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, flying, it's just such a good offensive and defensive type, but it's so spammable offensively. But you know what? You're the Hurricane Master. Actually, Bramblegast, some flying types will hit it.
Yeah, so
it's immune to a couple.
Hurricane, I can use my dark magic. Bramblegast is just immune. Outside of that, I think even if I don't have many like switch in for flying, I've never been afraid of sacking mons and going for revenge skills, and Galvantula and Mamoswine are gonna absolutely wreck those flying types.
Yeah, that plus Halucha and then Ambipom with triple axle, you can just revenge kill him.
Right, and Beedrill, is fast, so the flying types may not be affected by sticky webs, and I'm not sure they will be outspeeding Beedrill.
That is
So,
true. Yeah.
I have enough momentum to also bring Beedrill in, I think, safely. Have some slow U-turns. Like Honchkrow is pretty slow.
Teleport
You
from
know,
Slowbro. Yep.
exactly. Teleport. Ambipom will probably be more like U-turning into more defensive options,
Mm-hmm.
just because of how fast it is. But I could see myself U-turning in front of a flying type with Ambipom and going into Mamoswine, just forcing switches, and having a kind of a game of predictions from that, which I enjoy. I mess around with that, so
Yeah.
I think will be a good time.
This is a very MJC draft. Like, and we've seen it through the seasons of biasing towards offense, or if you aren't going offense, you're getting the fattest thing possible. And Slowbro isn't necessarily that, but it's still really, really tough to kill in one hit. So like this is your team through and through. I think we've used Mamoswine a few times through the history of the league, and it's always put up like really good numbers. Tapu Lele has like one of the best KD ratios in league history as well. Yeah, no, this is an MJC team that has like really high potential. It's just how well the opponents are going to be able to exploit some of those weaknesses.
Yeah, I agree. But I want to say that Toxapex was available. I chose not to draft it because I always, joke around about, drafting it.
Respect.
But no, it's a bunch of mons that I think are fun. A couple returns, like I guess Slowbro and Halucha returning to my team. I noticed I actually sniped Halucha from E, who wanted to run the Coco Halucha combo, which would have gone crazy.
In all fairness, they still could have ran Coco Sneasler.
That's true. There's also a Grafia angle as a Terra captain for me, just because of that unburden, and I love me my rat. But I'm okay with Galvantula with the speed control. And yeah, I think this should be a fun team. Be able to break it in against Tavi, and then Demo, I believe, and then you. So
Hey, my
I think
team ass, bro. Don't worry about
I think by the time I play you, Pano, I'll have a somewhat understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it has the highest potential out of most of the teams for like heat sets, which of course we are going to be tracking.
You know me. You know what's coming, or you don't know what's coming, I guess is a better way to say it.
Right, some fell stinger action. We're all about it.
That's gonna be a weekly occurrence. It's gonna be fell stinger +3 coverage move. So.
Demo, you wanna give some insight into your squad?
To what end?
To whatever you feel comfortable revealing to the league.
I mean, is there really a lot to say? I mean, you just draft Fat plus Weavile and then win, right?
Yes, and your Fat is offensive Fat. Gouging Fire, DNC, Celesteela, Primarina. They're all capable of doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, those mons are ass, bro. I don't know what you're talking about.
And you got my goat, Sableye.
That is true. That is true.
Sableye might be the best mon on that team.
I don't know, bro.
Sableye piloted well.
I was tapped into Medi super hard, but then realistically, Mega Diancie was gonna get to me, and so the whole plan kind of just shifted on its head.
Yeah, you went through.
How can you not?
You probably went through more iterations of teams in the last 3 days than MJC considered the entire process leading up to this draft.
Yeah,
there was always 2 options for me: monotype or whatever was available.
As you start scouting for intel, you start thinking about realistically what's gonna get to you, and then your whole perspective of life changes whenever you realize the most broken mon in the game is gonna get to you.
No, that's yeah, like Sableye in round 10. What a steal. But that's true though. Like the meta of taking a Mega versus not taking a Mega, it actually, I thought it was going to get tight. I thought like 2 people were going to be like waiting really late. It ended up just being Joe waiting for, what did he end up taking? Mega Aerodactyl last. But if you're the last one with a mega, you get 9 other picks, and you're guaranteed your mega slot because we can only have one.
Yeah, I guess the thing with that is I'm generally kind of averse to waiting to pick my mega because the megas were definitely not created equal. Like there are some eaters.
Yes.
Like at the end, like Mega Arrow didn't get drafted, which is kind of crazy because it's got like every move and then Dragon Dance with 150 speed.
Right.
But the odds are is like unless you kind of just assume that no one's gonna pick it, it's kind of hard to plan for your mega.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially like Mega DNC, once that got to me, it's like you can't sleep on a mon like that. And my entire team is built around kind of facilitating Mega DNC.
Right, and I think something like a mega or a Terra Captain, you want a little bit higher in point value because it's something you want to build with every week. Like it feels bad not bringing your mega.
Yeah, and I guess with this team, I tried to pick, particularly for the Terra and the Mega slot, like mons that I wanted to invest my team and my time in.
Mm-hmm.
So like every mon has a place, like Sableye, even,
Right.
Like, I didn't just draft Sableye because I needed to I needed to spend 4 points.
Right, I need a ghost type.
Not even that. It's just like what it provides for the team. Like there's a lot of setup opportunity, and Sableye being able to cripple people with like Encore Disable or set up screens with Prankster.
I think something underrated in Nat decks with a Prankster mon is changing the weather. Because like right next to you is Tan's team with Mega Swampert and Pelipper. So like I don't know if you guys play, but if you did, you could set up Sunny Day. Obviously, that helps Gouging Fire. It helps DNC with the Steel types and Mystical Fire. But you could also like counter somebody's weather team. Earlier in the draft, before Tommy dropped it, he was going Mega T-Tar Exca. So like having a Prankster mon to get rid of Sand Rush for Excadrill so you don't get swept. Just keeping that in the back pocket's huge.
Especially because you can Prankster Willow too. Just change the weather, get a Willow off, like
exactly.
That one's ass now.
Right, it's not doing anything. And one of my favorite picks of the draft was Tavi's Volbeat in his tier 5 to help keep the sun up on the team. Like Volbeat sucks. Like objectively is not good, but it's decent at support with Prankster Encore and Sunny Day.
That's kind of all you want out of like a 0-point mon.
Right. No investment.
Do something. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Who do I want to talk about next?
Let's do your team. You're here.
Okay.
And then we can get into other people's.
Knock that out real quick. Yeah. So my team was basically letting the draft fall to me. I was sweating a little bit, especially when it came back in round 2. So I took Dragapult first, and then it came back, and my whole plan was going Enamorous with Ting Lu in rounds 2 and 3, because I felt like those were realistic 2 and 3s. I had to wait 28 picks, or 24 picks between Dragapult and my next one. So I was like, okay, literally anything could be there. Let's kind of like dip down a little bit. Because most people are probably taking a Mega in tier 1 coming through. But yeah, it came back and Mega Mawile was still there. And I was like, well, that's going to be my fairy type. Check that box. That sounds great. I think Polt plus Mawile is really, really tough to deal with. That's going to be really brutal, especially with Ting Lu setting up hazards. Just kind of keep the momentum going with Dragapult, Moltres, Rillaboom, Iron Crown, and Vaporeon, and keep feeding Mawile opportunities to blow something up.
I really think the annoying thing about your team is like the combination of Rillaboom plus Moltres plus Ting Lu. I think those support Mega Maw Dragapult a lot because guys that are gonna want to, hit that super effective ground stab in a Mawile can't really do that because of Rillaboom. but then also anything that's going to want to touch Pult and Mawile with like a knockoff for Dragapult specifically,
right?
Or like coverage for Mawile are going to be discouraged from doing it because of Moltres' Flame Body.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I do want hazards up, but it always is better to play against somebody who doesn't want to continually U-turn around you. Momentum is just such a big part of the game, and having a U-turn deterrent, also a really consistent ground type to bring to... Actually, I have 3 momentum killers. So I have Volt Switch killer in Ting-Lu, I have U-turn killer in Moltres, and then I have a flip turn killer in Vaporeon, right? That's why Teleport's so good, obviously.
Right. Dude, what's actually so crazy is, like, normally I would consider this a problem for my teams, but I did not draft a very momentum-heavy team.
That is true. Yeah. Hey, you got
like,
flip turn Primarina.
Plant your feet and then try to kill everything before you die.
Right, but that's the thing with your team, though. Everything with the exception of Weavile can eat a hit and retaliate.
Yeah.
Like, there's really not a whole lot of things OHKOing you, unless somebody's going, like, super prediction heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, with letting the draft fall to me, round 4 came around and I went Moltres, because Moltres is just one that I really, really wanted to use. I think it's a fantastic U-turn deterrent, and I think having a prominent steel type like Mawile, I wanted a fire type that wasn't weak to ground moves. And this is obviously before I ended up picking up Rillaboom, but that was kind of the idea, because I had my eyes set on a bulky water as my Terra Captain, whether that was Vaporeon, or I went like Jellicent or something. Those were kind of on the table. But yeah, as like an ice resist to back up Mega Mawile. But yeah, I think having a flying type fire that... It is my only defogger, which is a little bit of a problem, but I don't really want to get rid of the hazard, so I think just running Boots, U-turn, 2 attacks, and Roost is going to be pretty much all I need to do every week. I mean, we'll see how everything falls out, but that's kind of the idea right now. And then round 5, E was in between Aegislash and Iron Crown here. We're sitting in the war room with everybody drafting, and he was asking me which to take, and I was like, really, it's up to your vibe, but full transparency, I'm taking Iron Crown if you don't. But the backup for Iron Crown was going to be Jirachi in that slot. And the plan initially with Enamorus was like get some really good future sight support for it, because Enamorus specifically having ground and fairy coverage covered everything that would want to switch into a future sight minus psychic types. But Mega Mawile, while it doesn't have anything other than like Fire Fang to hit steel types that would switch in, it has knockoff for the psychic types that might, and then Play Rough for the dark types. So I think future sight support for this team is really, really solid. Future sight, Volt Switch out. Especially like if they switch into a psychic type, I can just go into Dragapult and throw a giant Shadow Ball or Hex into them. So like I have options there, Banded Rillaboom knockoff, yada yada. Muck, Grounded Poison, can't do a draft without one. I'm Gen 6 pilled. But it's another knockoff deterrent for Dragapult. What's up?
I said, shoot, I knew I was forgetting something.
You don't have a Grounded Poison. No. Scrap it. F tier. Yeah, exactly. You don't let the T spikes go up because of Magic Bounce. But yeah, I'm also not worried about T spikes necessarily with this team, but having a poison type kind of helped with Dragapult and Ting-Lu.
Right.
Yeah, really solid coverage defensively with that. Plus, it's another like really good knockoff user. So if I am hazard stacking, I can just keep getting rid of Boots over and over, and it's really tanky, so I'm going to be able to do that a couple times a game. And then my final 2 picks were Slacking and Wug Trio. And
some heat.
Right, yeah. Wug Trio and Slacking are not traditional Draft League mons, to say the least. But I think they actually do provide a lot of value. Wug Trio, I will need to actually bring to prove that I think it is a threat. That way, because it fills my speed tiers really well, being 120. And I have a couple things in mind with what I want to do. I don't want to fully elaborate on that, but I definitely have a couple things that I think Wug Trio can help the rest of the team out with. And slacking, I feel like if you just forget about slacking, and it has amazing coverage. I can run specs, I can run band, I can run scarf. And with Truant, I can switch out if I'm not attacking too, which is really nice. I'm not like stuck unless I click like Giga Impact, obviously.
Yeah, slacking I think is underrated. It's one of these like early gen normal types that can do a lot of things that you wouldn't really think it can do. It's like the Gen 1 Tauros that just hits like bolt beam basically.
Right, like
there's that weird trade-off though. It's like you force all of your opponent's mons to run protect. So slacking can't do anything, but also they have just invested a lot of resources.
It's one less move for them to cover you with.
Right, and like I definitely don't expect people to bring 6 protects into me, but I think like, if it's at least a thought in the team builder, then I just got some value out of my 2-pointer. And if I bring it in a week where it was completely neglected, have fun switching into your ghost type on my slacking, clicking banded knockoff. Or, like, I could do anything.
I think banded retaliate is really scary.
Right.
Because anything that doesn't that doesn't resist it's probably gonna die.
Yeah,
it's like the
go.
physical equivalent of Blissey, whatever that is.
Right. I mean, the stats
it's
are
Mega Mawile is what it is.
The stats are so stupid. 150 HP, 160 attack, and then base 100 speed.
And 95 special attack isn't that bad either. It's just the ability that basically makes like halves all of this, but
that's basically Palafin.
That's right. Like with 95, I can run Specs Fire Blast on it, and like you switch in your steel type onto presumably a normal type move, and then you just get O code because 95 is respectable enough to do that with Specs.
Yeah, I guess looking at your team, I think you could. I know you might have some coverage, but a little bit of a way to deal with flying types, kind of just like me. You have 2 steel types, but I think
that's double up on.
Yeah, it's for sure. But I would say I think like having an electric type could have helped you a bit.
Yeah, so like
outside of that,
I definitely considered that. So like Rillaboom was kind of one of those ones where it was like, this is too good to pair with Mawile that I can't pass it up where I got it. I mean, like I got that around like 6 or 7.
Giving Mawile a little bit of recovery is huge because it can hit so hard, but it's slow, so it's gonna have to take at least a hit every time.
And that's another.
It can't wear boots on it, so if hazards stay up, that recovery might end up, mattering a little bit.
That's why I jumped on Vaporeon so early. Wish passing back to Mawile, Iron Crown, and Ting Lu.
The Terra Wish passing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're about to hit me with a super effective move. I Terra Grass, throw up the Wish. I live that hit. I can flip turn out or just hard switch, whatever. And then Vaporeon has such a high HP stat. So, like, now Ting Lu wouldn't get the most benefit of it because it has such a big HP stat too. But Mawile, I mean, I don't know, half of Vaporeon's HP is pretty much like 80% or 90% of Mawile's. Like, I basically got a free healing wish.
But without dying.
Right, and then I still have Vaporeon to possibly do it again later.
The benefit of not being dead.
Damn. Alright, gentlemen, I'm gonna dip out of here. I just wanted to come and say hi.
Yeah, thanks for giving some insight with your team, too.
Oh, I got nothing to share.
I know. Keep it tight to the hip.
Keep it in the team builder.
See, I don't mind sharing because I know I'll have some heat when it comes to the builder. the original plan of my team is probably not what's gonna get brought the most.
Bro's gonna pull up with Choice Band Galvantula week 1. No one's gonna expect it.
You'd be surprised at the coverage. it's already been investigated. So.
Alright, guys.
Alright, man. Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah. Peace.
Alright. Let's.
How about we look at dodge?
That's a good
just-
one to
It,
get the juices flowing.
It's kind of an easy one, you know, but I enjoy it. I think that, I mean, obviously we have a mono-normal team, right? This is what, like, the theme, the gym leader has, you wanted to do something fun, and that's what he did. I think that normal is one of the better types to do as a gym leader style. I think water is like up there, but definitely better than the bug I was going with, or if I had done it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, you look at his. Okay, how do you wall Mega Lopunny, Ursaluna, Porygon Z? Like, there's so much coverage and just raw damage there that, you know, you're gonna have to think about, you know, how do you deal with this? And obviously, fighting type, right? But you know, you have Zoroark, you
Right.
have Ditto,
Yep.
you have Terapagos who can come in. Cyclozar, I know Shed-Tail's most likely banned, but you
It
get
is. Yes.
Regenerator, right? Rapid spins, it gets
Mhm.
utility.
Yeah, he has two of the better rapid spinners. Like Cyclozar is solid because of that speed stat and getting that off, and Terapagos with boots lives any hit in the game. It's I think it's literally impossible to OHKO a Terapagos with Terra Shell. I mean, unless you're running negative defense with 0 IVs and no HP, like
yeah, but in that
it's
case, you should have drafted a
guaranteed.
different mon. You know?
Right. That is so. Chansey is the primary rocker. Terapagos does get rocks, but outside of that, I don't think there's any other hazards on the team, which is a little annoying because I think Lopunny really enjoys being able to U-turn around switches and then having hazards up to kind of really make those switches hurt. It is kind of big, and that's another possible concern. Now, Ursaluna and Chansey kind of cover your physical and special defense, and then you have the immunity with Zoroark, but the longevity of the team I am a little bit nervous about. And like you were saying, with normal being like a good monotype, I think it is because of how many like different
How much coverage?
right.
as well.
The offensive coverage is fantastic, but I don't know if I was to go monotype, I want to say I would go with like a fire or a water or I don't know, a singular type that teams are going to have limited amount of checks to. So
Right.
like if you look at Graham's team's probably pretty, yeah, Graham's team is fairly solid into water, but if you run like a fire type into this team, like a mono fire, it's going to get ward down really, really fast. And normal doesn't necessarily do exactly the same sort of thing with stab. The coverage is obviously great, but not having the stab boost to take out the 2 or 3 checks to that one type. Like if you look at my team, like I have Vaporeon for water, and then I have Rillaboom and Dragapult technically, but not super. But yeah, if somebody ran 6 water types into me, and one of them had like a Rindo Berry for Rillaboom, like I might be in big trouble because
Right.
I'm not going to have enough to get
don't have enough
through the
firepower
water,
to-
right?
yeah.
And then I'm also not going to have something consistently switching into Scald over and over and over. You know, Vaporeon can, but if they got Grass Knot, then I'm in trouble, yada yada.
And what I'll say is one of the drawbacks of normal is the prevalence of like close combat, superpower, and focus blast. A lot of mons get that, but I mean, focus blast is what it is. It's not the same accuracy as Hurricane. That's just not how it works.
Dodge's team's weird because it literally takes one prediction for Zoroark coming in on a fighting type move, and they click knockoff instead, and it OHKOs it, and then fighting type moves are just wide open for the rest of the game.
Yeah, no, I hear you. However, I want to talk about his Terra Captain, Heliolisk. I think this is a fantastic one. Just my opinion, I think that a Terra Fire, Electric, and Grass is really good. I don't anticipate him doing something like that, but a Terra Fire, Solar Power, Heliolisk with Weather Ball would be hard to wall. And he's got the cast form, so he can really go any direction he wants.
That would be awesome.
This is like some gas, but obviously, like, I think there's nothing really stopping that. Like 1 week, just bring that. I think Helios is a great out of all the dual normal types that were available. I think Helios is great because first of all, there's only one possibility for electric types in terms of like dual mono for a mono normal type team. So having that Helios, like that electric stab, like we were talking about, them missing the stab.
Yep, exactly.
Gives some momentum. Gives them a water immunity for Ursaluna if he really wants to. Cheeky water absorb or dry skin, I guess. But I think Castform in this team, like Castform is a funny one, but I think it can just being able to set up all these weathers might be like a little heat, just something to spice up the games. Because
and with like setting up snow, turn it into the ice type, and then it gets the defense boost and it gets weather ball, and it's something else I was thinking about, like you have Heliolisk as a water type switch in, but if it's a special attacking water type, Chansey is the switch in. Chansey,
that's very true.
It has to be like a Specs Focus Blast off of something with astronomical special attack to
like
really
a Mega
threaten
Lucario,
it.
but
yeah, right. Like,
but that's not available.
And yeah, I mean, of like stab fighting types. Let me just look through here. Like, who realistically is hitting a stab Focus Blast? Like, do we have any pure special attacking? Focus Blast is a coverage move for psychic types to hit darks.
And
it's,
ghost type.
Right, so. Yeah, it's I need to hit a steel or a dark type with something, so Focus Blast is my coverage. I mean, am I just blanking, or I don't think there's actually any special attacking fighting type outside of Terra fighting Terra Blast Galvantula.
Right, and
Right, Chansey's coming into that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Exactly. And obviously, and then Mega Lopunny and Ursaluna. This is a type of unwallable attacking like combo. You can't even bring a ghost type to this because Mega Lopunny doesn't care. So you gotta be very careful. And you need to bring your walls against his team, I think, because it might be mono normal, but I think that his team has incredible firepower. And don't sleep on the adaptability Porygon Z.
Yep, that's gonna hit hard too.
it takes, a tri attack, and especially rolling tri attack. You're also like kind of calling for RNG a little bit. Eventually, something's gonna stick with that.
Yeah,
and it's fun. I think it'll be good.
I think like Chansey spreading T-Wave status everywhere for Ursaluna is going to be huge. Ty said in the chat would have loved to see an Indeedee from Dodge. And yeah. I think that's definitely fair. I think one of the problems, though, is just the points where Indeedee would have, like, it's a tier 4, and you definitely want Ditto on a mono normal team.
Right.
Like that's kind of like non-negotiable. So you need Indeedee in your free slot. And I want to say like stuff in like tier 2 or high tier 3 to replace like a Porygon Z with. Like, you buff Cyclizar up to whatever normal type is higher, and then you throw Indeedee in the free slot. I don't know if that would have been better value just to get the Indeedee on the team. I agree. I think Indeedee would have been really, really solid. But I guess, you know what, now that I think about it, there's also a little negative synergy because Lopunny really likes running Fake Out.
Yeah, I mean, you Fake Out, or,
Yeah.
On Lopunny, it's just, you just get free damage.
But it's still cool having something, a normal type that's not weak to fighting. That's obviously ideal.
For sure, and there's not that many of them, obviously.
Yeah.
Be like Meloetta or Indeedee, and then you have like Zoroark.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any normal. What else? No, that's. I think that's really it.
I get Mega Audino with normal Fairy.
Yeah, but you shouldn't run that because
when Lopunny is available.
Yeah, else you're just gonna be losing your games.
Right.
I guess my final comment on this team is I guess we're gonna figure out if he actually knows how to use Terapagos, because that's a big question, I think. Because it is not a particularly easy mon to maneuver. It's really strong in the right hands, but we saw last season that it took Ty a couple of games to really get a hold of it. So I think if he gets Terrapagos under control, then it's going to be a very scary team.
Well, he's got a full season of notes. Ty made it to the championship and brought it, I think, every single week. So he's got like 9 or 10 games to watch.
I said that as a joke, but when you're running Ditto, you can technically bring 2 megas a week. So
yep.
you gotta be careful what you set up, because it might just come back to hit you. So.
Now we did ban a quick law on Ditto.
Right.
So it will most likely have to be Choice Scarf every week, but that's still fine. Like that's
but if you're copying a Mega, you're still always faster. So,
yep. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about copying a Scarfer.
Exactly. So if that's what you end up doing, then for me, like I look at my Mega B drill, for example. I'm like, all right, I get my Fail Stinger off for whatever reason, and then he comes in as Ditto, and then now I have to deal with a Mega B drill with nothing that really can deal with it. And so I have to sack Mons for this, because realistically I'll run like knockoff or something, and a +3 knockoff from B drill is gonna hurt. So, but those are my thoughts on his team. I think he's gonna have fun using it. But there might be a little like small adaptation period, and I think that the positive thing for him too is that even if his season goes like poorly, he'd be like, whatever, I drafted like a full Mega like a normal type team. So that it's kind of like, if it goes poorly, like whatever, but if it goes well, then like more hype. So
oh yeah, exactly.
Nothing to lose.
I'll talk about Graham's team because I was in the lab with Graham pre-draft trying to figure out what to do, and so Graham really wanted one of the Mega Charizards. The plan was going to be Mega Zard Y if Great Tusk was still there in round 1. And of course, the pick before Graham, Nexus took it. So, yeah, that went out the window. So Graham ended up just taking Mega Zard X round 1, and then came back around to support that with Iron Treads. That's also another like non-negotiable thing. You have to have an amazing hazard remover with a Charizard Mega. I was looking at the type chart. So the team overall is weak to ground, flying, rock, and fairy. The rock weakness, I kind of see, but realistically, it's only Zard and Togekiss. You don't really care that your Charjabug is weak to rocks. And then
how often is Charjabug coming is the question,
And if it is coming, it's probably leading and setting up webs. And that's why like Charjabug was such a good value pick too, because that with a Zard team, you want to incentivize your opponent to set up or to defog into you. You want to put the pressure on them with hazards to invite the defog. So like Graham's team doesn't have a ghost type, so he's not going to block spin, which is a little annoying. And that could end up being a problem. But in Nat decks, defog is so much more prevalent that I think people on average will end up using defog more than rapid spin. But yeah, so he has a fantastic defensive core of Treads, Slowking, Hydrapple, and Togekiss. That is so tough to break through. Like I'm just thinking about Slowking regenning into Treads, Volt switching into something breaking, back into Slowking, back into Treads, like just kind of putting them in the cycle. And like, I don't know, 10 turns into the game, it's like, well, I feel like I'm breaking into Graham's team. And then you look back at your team and you're like, oh my God, I only have one more thing that can eat a hit from Zard X. And as soon as Graham gets a little damage on that, Zard X DDs and wins the game. Yeah, I think Graham's wins are going to look a lot like that, where it's just like, Graham's not doing too good, DD win, oh shit, he won. Like, that seems like that's the build.
There's definitely potential to flip games around here. I mean, average attack stat is 94. Pretty good considering you have Slowking in there, Charjabug, which I guess is 82, which is surprisingly high.
Charjabug can actually do damage.
I think Obstagoon is one that attack stat is actually fake at 90 because it's kind of a gutsmon.
Right, it's
So
more like a 135, 140 realistically.
Togekiss doesn't really matter because you on the special attack, he's got a lot of offense. He's just gonna have to be very good with his speed because he's got a pretty low speed in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like on average, I mean, obviously he's got some good threats, so like Inteleon 120, Tread's 106, Charizard at 100. Charizard is good because immune to webs on first come in.
Yep.
On second come in, for example, this is why Hazard is going to be very important for him to take care of, because a Charizard Mega X that takes rocks twice, for example, is now down to 25%. And if he plays against me, for example, and I get the webs up, now slower, and you don't necessarily think about that when you lose your flying type.
Right.
But you have that to worry about.
Yeah, you need that second DD to actually finish games off then, because being base 100 is not cleaning speed.
Yeah. You got some very good fighting types that are going to hit really hard. Toxicroak at 86 special attack could surprise someone on the special set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little nasty plot set.
Exactly. Kind of like a poor man's Lucario is how I like to describe this Toxicroak.
Yep.
Crabominable is a good ice type in terms of how much damage it can output.
Cool synergy with Slowking too, with like a Trick Room, Chilly Reception into Crab.
That's very true. But if you don't have that, I think Crabominable could end up being like kind of dead weight if you can't position it well. Just because if you are in front of a special attacker, it won't take a hit.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be super effective too.
But if you can force a switch with it, then just any sort of move that you're using with it is going to just put a chunk on something. Like it's going to hit really hard. I mean, it's the highest attack on that team.
Right.
So this one's going to be a game of positioning. Obviously, like you said, like Slowking, Chilly Reception into this. Like suddenly, you better hit it with a special move, else it's going to hit you really hard.
And that's the thing with Slowking too. Who's in the right mind is switching a special attacker into Slowking? Unless you have, I mean, like maybe Dragapult on my team because I can hit it with like a Spec Shadow Ball and really threaten it. Like we banned Darkrai. I'm trying to think of something dark or ghost or, I mean, like a Coco, I guess, with electric. But generally though, like people are gonna want their physical attacker in front of Slowking. It chillies out into Crab, and now it has the defense boost, and it's just like, okay, well your physical attacker can't do anything to me now. Oh, and Ty, we have covered Dodge, MJC, Demo, and my team. We're just now finishing up Grams.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time just discussing Crabominable, obviously, because it's just one mod.
Oh, I do. Right? I do.
But I think it's got potential. I will say that. Just, again, you just got to maneuver it well. If you can get it in positions to click, it can click. I think that... I know that there's not many ghost types that got picked up, like offensive ghost types, because I think those could be a problem for his team. Like, because ghost type with coverage, typically will have something to deal with, like Slowking, Toxicroak, like ghost type with like the fairy psychic kind of coverage. I'm thinking like Miss Magius, for example, did not get drafted. People are not hip to the tech, but
they're not tapped in.
No, they're not. But like I'm thinking, like if you have Miss Magius against his team, you eat good.
Yeah, I think
obviously you don't. So
right, and I think Graham's team is just full of a ton of breakers, and that's why Inteleon's such a good Terra captain here, because that like it's really strong. There were some rumblings that maybe it should have been banned, it shouldn't be allowed, but 125 special attack, 120 speed, able to Terra defensively to be able to continue cleaning somewhere is actually going to be huge. Obviously getting coverage too from Terra is really nice. But yeah, like Obstagoon, Togekiss flinching, Toxicroak can break with a setup set, Hydrapple with a spec set can break, And obviously Zard X, it doesn't have to be your sweeper every week. You can just run that offensively, throw a flare blitz downrange, and then that's another thing. You think you're chipping Graham's team down because all these things are taking all this damage, and then boom, you don't have a way to kill Inteleon.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be a team of positioning. I think there's definitely tools to position. And, just 1 week, just get Togekiss in and just spam Air Slash and just RNG. Like, just flinch people. You can just do that.
T-Wave everything with Slowking, and then, just para-flinch through with Togekiss and win. We're not above it. We can do that. Yeah. All right, that's enough about Graham. I'm going to... Let's see.
Let me pick the next one because I just picked
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll just go over to Joe's team because Joe's team's really interesting.
All right,
Joe's team is like the weirdest dual weather team of all time. It literally is a sand team and a rain team at the same time. I think it is probably way better. And by probably, I'm definitely going to say it is way better as a rain team than a sand team. Because I think from experience of using Archaludon, not being able to get one-turn electro shots off is really, really tough for it. And that's why it's down in 12. I think if you're able to facilitate rain really well, it's probably one of the better tier 2s. But not drafting like a Pelipper to keep rain up, and plus it's draft league, when people are trying to run weather, like Tavi's team with the sun might just completely counter Joe's team. Like he might not be able to get what he wants going because of the sun, or even just strictly Volbeat changing the weather, right? But Arch is really good, especially when you can get the rain up. Torn plus rain and Hurricane or Bleak Winds are fantastic. Perfect accuracy. Dracovish, I mean, that doesn't even need an explanation for Vicious Wrens in the rain. We I don't want to spoil anything, but there was some testing done, and Dracovish was doing 85% to a certain grass type in the rain, and it was shocking.
Was it yours?
It was not mine, but
it was not yours.
It was doing a lot of damage to a fat grass type. Yeah, it was insane.
As someone who has used Dracovish, again, just takes one good positioning, chipping a couple of things, get down, like remove one of the walls, and suddenly your Scarf Dracovish just clicks Vicious Wren 4 times and the game is over.
Exactly. And then it gets Sand Rush, so you can run Sandstream on one of your lower tiers, and then you're good.
Makes your Aerodactyl a little bit bulkier as well. So. And
your Sand Rush, Lycanroc Day Terra Captain do a little bit more damage. You Terra Rock in Sand, keep the Spadef boost. Terra Fighting on that's a really good call. I think Rock and Fighting are probably the two that he's going to end up using most weeks, just from the coverage of Fighting, and Terra Rock Excel Rocks with a Choice Band to clean things up. I guess that brings up another thing, the cleaning potential of this team between Scarf Dracovish, Thunderclap Raging Bolt, 150 base speed Mega Aerodactyl, and Torn being a 121. This team, and I guess Hitmontop with like Upper Hand or Bullet Punch or Mach Punch, this team just has to get chip, and then there's so many different routes of cleaning that up.
I agree, and I think Aerodactyl Mega is one of those ones that's going to make you go, I wish I had Aqua Jet, a way to just attack before it, because it's going to hit hard, and it gets pretty solid coverage, so you're going to have to make sure you don't, typically for someone like me who is not scared of sacking walls or defenses to get my offense in, I can only do that once against his team. Because then I'm just dying. You're
gonna have to fight offense with offense. Joe in season 4, when he had that Roaring Moon Enamorous team, that was his best season I think personally, and I think it was because he didn't have defense on that team, and it forced him to play a different way than what he was comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And this team gives that vibe again. He does have a lot more bulk on this team to be able to live hits than that team. But I think the concept, right? I think the concept is still the same, where the offense is the highlight here, and if he can just maximize that every week, he's going to be in a really strong spot.
Yeah, and I guess one last comment about his team is, I guess in a sense, I think he's lucky that there's not many offensive ice types that have been drafted, because I see a pretty big weakness to ice.
I'm having a hard time seeing how a Kiram doesn't just 6-0 this team.
Yeah.
Like, right, it's like I mean, sure, Arrow comes in Stone Edges, but like Kiram gives this team such an insanely hard time with Freeze Dry and Earth Power.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have in mind. Like, if you were able to do something like that, then obviously, I mean, I know what the Kiram does to a team that's weak to freeze dry. You know, obviously, I had that encounter with my kind of Mono Water Rain team.
Right.
But there's not been that many offensive drafts like ice types.
Yeah, Bundle is still out there. Kiram's out there. Or actually, no. Did Bundle get picked up by? Oh, it did get picked up by Ton. That's right.
So it did get picked up. But I think in terms of like offensive ice types, we have Mamoswine for my team. There's a Weavile. That's kind of it. You know, Bundle, but
sure. Yeah, I mean
that's it. Like, I can't think of any other, you know, threatening ice types that have been picked.
I think it really is like the freeze dry aspect too, and there's only a couple mons that even have freeze dry in the first place.
Yeah, so I think that's not getting away with it because there's so many things that people can draft, and but I'm looking at this team, I'm like, if I can run a freeze dry, I will. If I can run more than one, I will. But if the biggest counter to your team is a single move that not everyone can learn, then I feel like you did pretty good.
Yeah, and Joe's used Aerodactyl, he's used Raging Bolt. Everything else might be new. He may have had Go-Goat briefly in a previous season for the mascot pick.
I don't know if do you not remember how my Togedemaru absolutely walled his Go-Goat?
Oh, yes. Okay, yep.
My goat?
That was season 2, yeah.
The absolute goat Togedemaru almost made a return.
It's so good. Don ended up picking it up. But we'll move over to Tavi's team, another weather team. This is by far the most weather we've seen in the league. You have ran a rain team, and that might have been it.
We've seen a lot of manual weather, especially last season. I don't know what happened. People just started just cooking the manual weather.
Yeah, they were on one with that. But this is the first Zard-Y team we've had. Tavi did a fantastic job with the speed tiers. Totally covered between 130 and 58. Like, that is really, really tough to do for like that wide of a gap. I think the hazard control is fantastic to support Zard between Lando, Hatterene, and Crobat. And Tidy Up on Cinchino. That's also a really fun Terra Captain. That's like one Tidy Up, Terra Normal Tail Slap, and that thing's taking care of some business.
That's true.
Especially with like Loaded Dice Technician.
Yeah, I love the Lantern pick. That's one I was considering. Just being able to run Volt Absorb and Water Absorb, it feels like the Nuzlocke strats, but I think against his team where Electric could end up being a problem. I think, outside of Lando, there's not. I mean, you can only pick up so many like electric immunities. I think that having this option of just like your kind of if you want something to just take a hit for you, this Lantern actually can put in some work.
And Lando, Metagross, Scrafty. I don't know if Cinchino has it, but he's got a lot of knockoff users that are going to be coming consistently, and I think knocking off some Assault Vest for Charizard is going to go pretty hard. Something that people don't really think about is that Zard Y can also just be a weaker Zard X and Dragon Dance. It has the exact same moves, and between Flare Blitz and Earthquake, especially sun-boosted Flare Blitzes, Dragon Dance Zard Y can be really threatening. So if you go into like a Chansey or a special wall, it can kind of surprise you some weeks. Kind of how like Lando, I mean, more recently in Gen 9, it really likes running special sets. So his team is super flexible in that sense. And that's kind of the beauty of Draft League. You know what 10 are coming, you know what's most likely to check your thing, and then you can just counter that. Walking Wake, that was something that we banned in Season 4 because we thought it was going to be too OP. Turns out it's just really good. And I think having a dedicated Sun team is the perfect way to run it. And
Absolutely.
It's going to put up some numbers.
Especially that signature move of just like, well, the Scald on crack.
Right.
You know, onto
Sun
the sun.
boosted Scald.
Yeah.
I think with Walking Wake 2 in Draft League that makes it really potent is that the 125 special attack and 109 speed line up within 2 points of each other when you're running Timid. And so you can flip back and forth. You can run, I think you can run Timid, max speed, and still get the special attack booster. Or you can drop 2 or 8 EVs out of your special attack, and then you can get the speed booster off of it and still hit insanely hard with like a spec set. So I think knowing what might be coming, that's going to answer Walking Wake, and being able to tailor make your photosynthesis boost for it, that's going to be really, really good. And also, possibly in the right matchup, Dragon Dance. Who knows? I'm going to keep pushing it.
I guess if I can, like, going to be nitpicking about one thing about that team, I feel like Crobat kind of overlaps a couple of things. But I feel like a Poison Flying is not as valuable. It's just a pure Poison type. Infiltrator is a cool ability. I mean, Crobat can also just, spam some Toxic, just cripple teams a little bit. But that's just like the one Mon that I feel like can be sometimes left behind, although that 130 speed tier is very good and can end up putting a threat on something
right,
be a little slower and a little more frail.
It's respectable enough offensively that you can't ignore it. So if you have a Mega Lopunny that's faster than it, you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm going to speed creep down to Cinccino and run Adamant this week. Like, no, Crobat with Brave Bird OHKOs me. I'm going to actually have to have enough speed in this to outspeed and do damage. And yeah, I think Toxic plus pivoting and just having a backup defogger too with that speed stat. I agree it does kind of overlap a little, but I think it has enough of a niche on the team and enough of a reason to be there that, I mean, I could look through the draft pool and look at other 10-pointers. I don't know if I'd find one specifically that would be like, yeah, you know what, that may have been better.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I did enough nitpicking, I might be able to find something that was 9 or 10 points. But yeah, no, I got no complaints with it, that's for sure.
Yeah, and this is just like, for me to do some nitpicking, just it's not a Mon I would have drafted with that team. However, I'm not saying it's a bad Mon at all. And even just having Super Fang is, you play against Tinglu, you're like, oh, I can't hurt it. Let me just take half the HP on it.
Exactly. And then you have Roost for Tinglu hitting you with a Ruination. You're like, well, you didn't make any progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that was just like
I'm
a
excited.
side comment, but
no, that was a good point, and I like Tavi's team for this being his first draft team as well.
For sure.
Like, that's just incredible. Like that can't be understated enough. So Tavi, if you're watching this, shout out to you. Great job. Really, really like that.
For sure. This got some heat. This got a lot of potential. We didn't talk about, Metagross, Scrafty. Scrafty, it's got that fairy weakness. So, depending on the matchup, against a Mega Dancy, probably not going to make it. But outside of that, one Dragon Dance without Moxie, and then suddenly you're running.
Does Scrafty get Bullet Punch?
I think he gets Mach Punch, but I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah. Not that that's like optimal. It only has base 90 attack, but no, I don't see Bullet Punch. Oh well.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. But like bulk up Shedskin with Rest, that's really fun.
For sure.
Dragon Dance Moxie sets, Intimidate, like all 3 abilities are useful. It has good defenses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, good value in tier 4 for sure.
And you have Volbeat that can also allow you to bring in a threat pretty freely. Just encore something, and then you can bring up one of your big boys.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. Like, really, Volbeat is one of my favorite mons on that team. Plus, like, Suicide Defogs is kind of clutch, too, and then you can let Zard clean. But yeah, we'll move over to Tommy here, the only person in the league to not use his entire budget.
The point left.
1 point left.
I fell off. This used to be me.
This is also our first team that we're going to talk about that had massive grace period changes. So if somebody not in the league is watching, we allow 5 team changes from your draft before week 1. And I think Tommy used all 5 of his. Yeah, I think so. But made a really good team. He actually is a perfect type chart, which is pretty tough to do in a tier-based draft. I love the design of Mega Pidgeot. I am just not the biggest fan of it competitively. And I'm trying to think exactly how would I build with this team, right? I think it would be kind of the cornerstone of Jirachi, Blastoise, Tapu Bulu most weeks, of just kind of being that defensive core with a lot of pivoting. And then with Tapu Bulu, you have Grassy Terrain for Sneasler endgame. Got Mega Pidgeot. Probably looking at this, Mega Pidgeot will be a wall breaker. And it's just gonna do a ton of damage to the special types that come in on it, and then just U-turn right back out into like a Jirachi, maybe even a Jolteon or Hydreigon. I think Hydreigon is going to be... It's weird. Hydreigon has Defog, but you don't want to get rid of your terrain for Sneasler. So I think it does kind of lose a move. Not that you really use Hydreigon for Defog, but in Natdex, Hydreigon can be pretty decent defensively. And so I think that burden is really on Jirachi and Blastoise this season for his team.
Yeah, Pidgeot, obviously, that is a mon that I've kind of always had my eyes on, but I decided to just use Zapdos instead, because, you know, you don't need no guard if you just don't miss. It's just another one of these megas that's just weak to rocks. We've talked about a couple of them. You just have to find a good way to get them in. Because if you don't, you can only bring him on so many times. I think Bulu is, I'm gonna say, the worst
of the Tapus.
I
don't think that's too hot of a take.
Yeah, you know, dropping a big one with that one. I think some good speeds. Yeah, the pretty good type chart. Obviously, you said it's perfect. You know, I've never been one to believe I just have to draft the perfect type chart, just because, you know, some types are just much more prominent than others. I think Seismitoad is going to be a pretty fun Terra Captain.
I think it's one of the better ones. I think like there's some synergies with like Rain Dance on this team, and like, you know, we got Rain Dish Blastoise, Swift Swim Seismitoad with additional coverage from Terra. That seems really fun. Yeah, I really like Seismitoad as a Terra Captain. I think the thing with Tommy's team is there's no specific plan every week. I think Jirachi and Blastoise generally are going to be defensive, right? But outside of that, I think there is a ton of flexibility, and having super customizable mons like Hydreigon, Jirachi, Sneasler, and Seismitoad, that just, you know, the world's your oyster. Like every week you can go, okay, I can do something different this week. I can just run back the exact same thing because it looks really good, right? Like there's a lot of flexibility.
What I'll say is I think that flexibility in a sense is a blessing and a curse, because you can also just kind of lose yourself in how many things you can do.
Well, and it's like anti-prep too, where if Ty is playing Tommy and he sees like all these mons and he's like, okay, well, I realistically can't predict what set Hydreigon's going to use this week. I don't know if Blastoise is going to be Shell Smash or defensive. I don't know if Jirachi is going to be defensive or offensive. And then the flip back onto Tom's side then is like, Tom doesn't know what Ty thinks he's bringing, so then he wouldn't be able to predict what 6 would match up into his team. It's kind of like the curse of Mew, or like honestly, I might end up figuring this out with Dragapult too. Just these really flexible mons don't lead themselves to like having a great vision in prep for what's coming. Now you might end up, because of that flexibility, making something impossible for the other team to prep for, which is obviously great. But yeah, if you need to go defensively, it might be a little tough.
Yeah, so that's having that flexibility is great, but also you got to make sure that you kind of keep a vision or just like a line, because you can easily go all over the place.
Yep.
What I will say, one of my observations about his team is that Earthquake into his team is not a good move. 2 Levitates, a flying type, and
grassy terrain.
So that can also allow Jolteon to be a just big spammer of electricity and just come in and out.
Yeah.
Or even Jirachi to be on more. So already you can see like there's so many directions as he can play. I think if he manages to be very creative with it and find a way to make it work, then I think he's gonna have fun, at least with that team, and
right.
One of the most important thing.
I think like a potential future change is just either changing Mega Pidgeot or finding another way to get another spinner on the team, because I do think Blastoise wants to do things other than spin every week, and you don't really want to defog. And if you are defogging, you don't really want to do it with Mega Pidgeot. It's not the end of the world. Like, I mean, we played 7 generations of Pokemon without heavy duty boots, but Gen 8 kind of spoiled us, and now it's like impossible to have a flying type on your team without boots. Like, it just feels illegal. But no, obviously it's done things before.
It existed before. It will still exist.
Right. So yeah, I'm excited to see how Tommy ends up doing it. Like we said, it was so flexible that every week is just going to be like a treat for us. All right, let's go over to Ty's team. Ty,
I just need to pull it up.
Almost has a perfect type chart. And to quote the Don, type charts aren't real in Gen 9, and I think that is very true. But
the Star Storms, though, yeah, we just got a rebrand off of that too.
Yeah, we got the brand new team from one of the OG members, from the Safari Zone Sadowoodos to the Sado Starstorms.
Already, Medicham Mega, he was talking about it. He was like, if it's there, I'll take it. When it was draft time, he was like, man, should I do it? We're like, you wanted it, just take it.
Yep.
Just a terrifying Mon. Kind of the same tier as a Mega Lopunny, just comes in, clicks fake out, and then just clicks a nuke move.
Exactly. With base 100 attack, it's realistically, and then pure power, it's realistically a base 245 attack Pokemon. Yeah.
So it's one of these things you're going to have to outspeed because you can't wall it.
Right.
It's just gonna one of these mons that are just such a treat to face. You just got to deal with it.
Yeah,
that way.
Not looking forward to that.
Blacephalon is a mon that I think will be fun. I don't know how good it's going to be. I'm not a Blacephalon, expert.
Blacephalon got way better in Gen 8 with the removal of Pursuit. And so with us playing in a league without Pursuit, Blacephalon's going to be a lot more free to just hit really, really hard, and then fall back to Tapu Fini, fall back to Serena, fall back to any of these defensive mons. I think he's actually going to be able to use... He ripped Demo's top 3, right? The Medicham, the Kingambit, the Fini, and there was no direction past there. It was like I identified a really strong core to build a team around, and it was honestly too strong where it was like, I don't know what else to do, right? I just want to bring these 3 and clone them and bring another 3 of them every week. But I think Blacephalon fits so well with Gambit and Fini. And it's a really good wall breaker for Metacham, too. It has base 127 attack, another flexible draft league mon. Most weeks will be special attack. But how do you defensively switch into Blacephalon and Metacham consistently in draft league?
That's easy. You don't.
You don't.
So you have to make concessions.
You have to sack.
I think Whimsicott as a Terra captain is also incredibly fun. Prankster is a broken ability, and you can run like a sub-seed set with like just leech seed and all, and you become like a steel type or whatever the opponent's team can't really handle well, and you're just there. You're just there, and you're just hanging out, and you're very hard to deal with. I would love to see once a chlorophyll Whimsicott with Blacephalon in the back. Just a little bit of fire, like a Sun Team, just to bring out some heat. I'm sure Golbat, one of these mon, gets
Yeah, multiple have to have Sunny Day. I'm sure Gambit.
Exactly.
Yeah, Gambit has it or something. Whimsicott, I think, can set it for itself too.
Yeah, but ideally, if you're gonna be running a chlorophyll mon, you'd have probably something else setting that weather for you. But
well,
you can also do it yourself.
Right, that's the thing with Whimsicott is you go Terra Ground, and then you run a Grass and a Fairy coverage with a Terra Blast Ground, and then your fourth slot can just be Sunny Day, and boom, now you have an offensive Terra Captain out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think Sub Leech Seed is really busted. It's actually super busted. It's so
I think it's gonna be very
annoying.
annoying to deal with. And it's gonna be very hard to spread status on his team because of Misty Surge. So
exactly. Yep.
So you can't even just let's say you have Sableye, right? You're a demo. You're like, whatever, I'll trade my Sableye for a T-Wave on the Metacham. Well, you might not have that option.
Right, yeah, Finny can just come in, and now you got 5 turns where Sableye can't really do anything.
Exactly.
And I think the combo of Metacham plus Blacephalon just makes King Gambit endgames look really good too. Because like dark types are going to come in on Blacephalon, or fighting types, Gambit's going to end up being last spawn alone, all my friends are dead syndrome. But then it's going to look at a team that's like insanely weak, just getting sucker punch swept. I think those 4 plus Whimsicott, and then it's like plug and play. You need a little bit more removal, bring Serena or Rotom. I mean, Golbat can. It probably doesn't want to run Defog, but it definitely can. Golbat's really actually pretty solid. Ty gave me a couple notes here. Let's see if we didn't touch on any of this. I wanted to try to rip it without going into this. Oh yeah, Dodun, that pickup in free agency was pretty big. Needed a more consistent hazard setter. If you look at his team, that would if you go from top to bottom, I mean, yeah, Gambit gets rocks, but realistically, the first mon that's probably running rocks on his team is Dudunsparce. But it's really bulky. It's able to cover a lot of things for Metacham and Blacephalon just from being fat in a normal type without a lot of weaknesses. And then, yeah, set up rocks, set up a ton of glares. It doesn't synergize super well with Finny with Body Slam, Paras, and Glare, but
if you're the one piloting, if you're dictating that tempo, it's much different than if you're 100% the tempo. So it's like me with my Psychic Surge, right? I can decide when priority is an option. That's a lot of skill expression. I think that's what that team allows.
During the draft, Ty was getting pretty worried about momentum with the team, and I do think Metacham benefits insanely well from having like slow momentum to keep getting it in to throw off nukes. And the team doesn't have the best momentum. You got Rotom, Golbat, Baton Pass to Dudunsparce, Volt Switch Probopass. Whimsicott, I think, does get U-turn. But yeah, like, there's not, realistically, of what you're bringing every week, there's not a ton of momentum, which can be a little tough, but I think he's fat enough just to hard switch, make predictions, and then do a couple doubles to get Metacham into prime opportunities to throw off massive close combats. And yeah, then Probopass...
skill expression.
Right. Yeah. No. It's like the entire. Yeah. That every week, just name the team skill difference. You either win or you don't, but it's only going to come down to skill because it's not like you're going to get T-Wave hacks. It's, you're not using a bunch of what is like realistically, it's like Overheat with Blacephalon is the most inaccurate move you'd be using.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
you can't. This team is very much so. Don't blame it on hacks.
What is so Blacephalon gets mind blown, which is a lot of damage, but it's also you can click that once basically. But that that might come in helpful. Maybe 1 week you just really need to get that one thing off the field.
Yep, just specs mind blown something.
And just get rid of it, and then open the rest of your team. So there's potential, I think, and I think Ty is really good at this. I mean, he's always got a way out.
Right.
So.
It's in the right hands. Week to week it's always going to vary, but it's definitely in the right hands as of right now, in theory, to do something pretty dangerous. So yeah, Don's team. Don made, I think, all 5 grace period changes as well from the draft. And I mean, what can we say? It's a pretty threatening team. I can't lie. It's it's not great for everybody else. Don was really excited about the core of Swampert, Weezing, Galarian, and Melmetal from like a defensive standpoint. That's just really tough to break. They cover everything.
Yeah, I'm just like taking a second to like take in the team because a lot of things changed.
Yeah. Melmetal plus Gallade, that's an impossibly difficult physical core to break through, to defensively handle. And then boom, you have Roaring Moon on top, which could just end up sweeping you after Melmetal and Gallade did their damage.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is one of the. I'm looking at the team in general. I'm like, this feels like one of the few teams that can really just deal with a Mega Gallade. Not Gallade, the NC.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, AV Melmetal eats any hit.
Yeah, so that's the first thing that jumps to mind. I think Swampert, can, a good Earthquake, Liquidation. It's got both stabs are really good into DNC. Obviously, it's just like one mon, but we're talking about what can deal with it. Not much. So it's refreshing to find a mon that can.
There's so many mons on this team that are just like so impossible to kill in one hit as well. That they will win a bunch of 1v1s if they're not switching into that move. And Oricorio as a Terra Captain, I loved it as a Terra Captain when I had it. Pom Pom plus Terra Ground is just a killer combo. It does stink to lose your original stab type when you Terra, but your Revelation Dance ends up becoming stronger than Terra Blast. So you get a little bit extra value out of that. Plus, you can use your original coverage anyway, off rip.
Yeah, you can decide when you want to switch. So
exactly. I wanted to say, I think Don wanted Oricorio Pom Pom in his team picture. Let me see what that ends up making. Yeah, so that's, I mean, marginally Ice Weak, marginally Ground Weak overall. And like Oricorio defensively, like some of these type charts can be really fixed by the Terra Captain changing and eliminating it being like doubling up on a certain type. But Oricorio is the only flying type on this team. And a lot of weeks you are probably just running Terra Ground on it. So that is going to be a consistent ice weakness. Plus you're going to get rid of your flying type. So you only have Weezing to...
eat an Earthquake, really.
Right, be immune to ground moves. You do have Seed Sower Arboliva. Arboliva is probably a tough one to justify bringing every week with how good the rest of the mons are here. Like that's... It's obviously it's going to come at some point. Like it definitely has value on the team. But like with Seed Sower, Grassy Terrain doesn't get set up until it gets hit by a move. So yeah, like if you prevent yourself from doing that, you can keep the terrain off the ground, and then you still are able to hit like Melmetal or Magmortar, Nidoking, whatever, with a ground move.
Yep. No, I mean it's pretty good team. I guess if you really want to nitpick, I think the fastest Mon in that team could be maybe a little slow with certain megas, like with that meta. But
I was going to say something similar. The team overall is a little slower. And Togedemaru is fantastic for fixing that, but that's also another Mon that you have to really justify bringing over everything else on the team. I can't remember if Melmetal has T-Wave or not.
I think it does.
Yeah, I know it has Thunder Punch at least. But yeah, it does have T-Wave. So that would be a really good T-Wave user for this team to allow Gallade and Roaring Moon to end up cleaning.
Yeah.
Gallade just needs one SD and it's over. If the things faster are T-Waved.
But this is definitely one of the teams that I think would have benefited the most from some sort of speed control. So whether that is T-Wave or just having a webs option. But outside of that, if you can pilot it well and get your threats into good positions, and the speed control is not as important.
Yeah, and it's Don, so I don't think we have to worry about that too hard. Don he's allergic to reusing certain Pokemon that he's like used in previous draft leagues and everything. So I want to say pretty much everything here is new to him. So maybe first couple weeks there's like a little bit of a learning curve and we can kind of take advantage of that. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, that way we don't get swept.
Play him early or get screwed.
Exactly. Don't let him learn from his mistakes.
But yeah, outside of that speed, that opportunity for maybe some speed control, I think this is a very solid team, and I think it's deceptively bulky as well. So you're gonna actually have a hard time echoing some of these threats. I mean, outside of the mega, which is pretty frail. I think the team as a whole can actually take a couple hits. So.
Let's see. I'm going to send a message over to Nathan real quick and just see if they're available. And if not, we will just go over to Nexus.
All right.
Available to chat for a sec. No worries if not. Well, actually, we can probably just rip through Nexuses real quick, actually. Great Tusk.
All right, what's that team name? Sorry, this.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Toronto Tyrants?
Yep, top right. Shibuya Salamence is a crazy name. Shout out to them. And have you seen their logo? Check this thing out. Look at that thing. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. That honestly might be a nice one. Might be the best logo in the league. Dare I say?
Yeah. We have some good logos though.
Yeah, I know it's hard. Okay,
Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus. Yes.
Mega Pincer. All right, good next team.
Right, exactly. It's like get Great Tusk. Okay, I'm either drafting Zard Y or Mega Pincer, and we're gonna keep it moving. I don't specifically know the vision with the team. I think the idea with like Victini and Pincer is that you just have like a lot of offensive pressure right off the bat. Because I don't think Victini doing like any setup sets with like stored power make a ton of sense on this team, but he does have a really, really low base special attack, which might be a little exploitable. Sorry, Dodge, for getting Chansey into this team. It's probably not the best value, but I don't know. Deancey's a threat. Deancey's a really good Terra Captain, arguably one of the best. But I don't think Victini plus Deancey is enough, or Belly Bolt is enough to really threatening special breaking on the team. But the idea might be you're not going to have enough physical defense to deal with everything else, and then I can actually clean up with one of my special attackers like Noivern, because you had to start using your special defense into me, and it was just wide open at the end game.
It does feel like a team that you're going to see the same six most of the time. just because it kind of felt like point tally just gonna ran out. When you see like you got Thwacky, you got
Thwacky,
Dracloak.
Belly Bolt, Revavroom. Yeah, those four. I mean, there is some justification for them here and there, but I was just looking at Pinsir, Diancie, Tusk, Wellspring, and Victini Noivern. That team is very Ice Weak, like supremely Ice Weak.
You're right.
Which honestly, with this draft, and there not being many Ice type like offensive threats, it's not the worst time to draft a team like that.
Yeah, it's really making me realize how that Mamoswine pickup was actually pretty good, because not a lot of people got that option to check a good like a strong hitting Ice Shard is something that's going to come at a premium, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Choice Banded Ice Shard into Tusk is at least doing 40.
Like,
at least.
Pinsir is gonna not like that. And thinking back to the Mega Aerodactyl, when I was like, you kind of wanted that Aqua Jet. Ice Shard's also one of these things. You resist a rock, at least for me, and But anyways,
I think Ogerpon actually is kind of cool, being a spike user on this team. Not many hazard setters. Like Diancie's great at setting up stealth rocks. Tusk can. It doesn't prefer to. But I think
to get rid of them, but
right. So I think Ogerpon being a spiker, because Ogerpon does force switches. You are going to go into your fat water type or your grass. It's more obviously your grass type onto it, and you just throw up a layer that's going to start chipping at Tusk coming in. It's going to chip at Victini. Something with Victini on this team is I don't think it really wants to Final Gambit at all. Like, I don't think that's ever going to be an option for Nexus. I mean, maybe if I play him and he pulls that off, I'm not going to be expecting it, and that would suck. But I feel like Victini is too valuable to be a Final Gambiter on this team, because once that's gone, I mean, you don't have a reliable ice resistance. What was Nexus's Terra types on Diancie?
We got Fairy, Water, and Ground.
Okay, Water is going to be happening a lot. I can see.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
But then you kind of open up yourself to a electric weakness with the Pinsir Mega Ogerpon being neutral. If Tusk is down, then
and like Jolteon with like an alluring voice, like that already hits Tusk super effectively on the special side. So yeah, Jolteon looks really strong into this team, and that's not a great thing to say that a 5-pointer is looking like that threatening.
Right. But the other side of that coin is only one person has Jolteon.
That is true. That's true, and you can be somebody like me that doesn't even have an electric type. It's gonna be Volt switching around. Don't worry about me. But yeah, Nexus Draft League OG. It's been doing it since honestly one of the first 3 draft leagues ever created back in the day. So yeah, really happy to have Nexus on board here. Peer pressure works, kids. Never give up.
Never doubt.
But I think he's looking forward to it too, because it's not being an upload league. There's no pressure. I mean, there is a gym badge on the line.
We're just having fun now.
But yeah, we're goofing around, drafting the most Ice Week teams ever. So it's a good time to do it. So Tan. All right, Tan had one of the more interesting drafts initially, and then the changes to the team actually made the team even more interesting. Initially, it was Mega Gardevoir with Urshifu Rapid and Chi-Yu as the heavy-hitting offensive core, and he decided to switch and pivot and go super hard Rain with Mega Swampert and Bundle. This is a Rain team
if I've ever seen one.
Yes, and the best part is Tan and Joe play in Week 1, so it's the 2 Rain biased teams are playing right off the bat.
That'll be fun. So I guess, obviously you can't dismiss the strength of Pelipper, Swampert, Bundle. It's gonna be hard to wall. Even if you resist a water move, you don't, because rain plus stab on these mons is gonna be a lot.
Yep, and how consistently, or whatever water type you think you have that can deal with Urshifu and Swampert, can it deal with a freeze dry? Can it deal with a hurricane?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, double freeze dry core with Glalie too.
Yeah, if I have to have a concern against that with that team, is you're lacking coverage. I feel like, yes, you can hit very hard water, ground with Swampert, Urshifu, like fighting, but your best electric move is gonna be Thunder Punch. Your best, you're gonna be a little short on those answers. So
I don't want to spoil it, but there is one electric move that this team can do off of a certain mon that would be really, really funny to see pulled off. I won't say it. I can't say it. Yeah, but I will DM Ton to make sure he does it.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying though. Like, if you can somehow deal with the onslaught of water and ice moves, then that team is gonna be not as threatening to you. And if you have a good, mons into water types, if you have a good grass type, for example, a good electric type, then it's gonna be harder for Tone.
I think Ferrothorn is probably going to be the MVP of this team, one way or the other. I think on paper right now it is the MVP because he wins if Ferrothorn stays alive. If Ferrothorn goes down, there is no possible way. Well, there is a way. There's no consistent way to defensively switch around after Pharaoh goes down. The only other way is to get Rain up and just sweep with Swampert or Urshifu at that point.
And so I think this team, for example, if I have to again be nitpicking, I think this team would benefit from a ghost type. I think Minior.
I think he has Ghost Terra Mousehold.
Okay, a real ghost.
A real ghost type. Sorry.
I'm seeing a bunch of fighting weakness, flying. I think, obviously this is being priced out, but like a Golden Go into that team would be incredibly strong. Now, obviously, probably can't afford Golden Go, but
it would have to drop bundle for that, and then kind of pivot around and find another. Oh, I guess that is a special attacker, and that wouldn't be that bad.
But that kind of typing, I think, is missing.
Yeah.
Because, just looking at a good fighting type here, Cacturn, good to eat one of these like water moves, but how many people are going to be using water against you outside of week 1, I suppose, now that they're going to face each other,
right?
But Minior, if you get it in with a proper setup, can also just take a game away.
It can,
but that would be my one like nitpick, or just like one change I would make to that team potentially. But maybe runs that team and just don't need to do that. So
right, and I think that's more of a hydro pump confidence check as well. Of like, all right, I'm gonna give Bundle a chance to hit his moves. If it's not hitting its moves, all right, yeah, maybe I switch that out to Golden Go or a different special attacker that would fit a little bit better. But Bundle is in the 18-point tier for a reason. It's unresisted stab combo with freeze dry.
It will hit hard. It will hit hard. I'm not gonna argue that.
It's really fast, really strong.
It's gonna be a threat. It's for sure gonna be a threat. I just worry that the games are gonna be people just taking 1-for-1s, but kind of win out from.
Yeah, it's like
a check, and then
if Ton can keep the 1-to-1 under 8 turns, they win.
Right.
But if it gets to 10 turns and then you don't have a swift swimmer to take advantage at the end, then yeah, it's probably not going to be enough.
If you can stall out the rain and have him have to recycle that whole weather cycle, it might get a little more complicated because you can probably predict a Pelipper coming in. You can probably do that thing, like all these things, find a way to wall, make a good read and catch Ferrothorn coming in, and then suddenly it's just harder
Like,
for him to play around.
I don't have any special defense left on my team.
That being said, Tone is always good at using the teams that will just spam shit at you to just destroy you. I mean, that was the team that had Chi Yu and Chen Pao at some point.
Yeah, and Ursaluna.
Exactly. So, in terms of illegal offense, I think this man's got it under control. So if he can pull that kind of hyper offense, then everything that I just said won't matter.
Exactly. And I think there are going to be games this season where it would have been easier had he not done that in terms of prepping, but then the game's just going to be over in like 10 turns, and it's like, all right, well, that didn't matter.
This is kind of stuff that happens. So this is, when I make my comments, it's always based on like making a balanced team, but maybe you don't want a balanced team. Maybe you want a broken team.
Exactly.
And then that's just fine. So,
broken team, the stuff to use. But yeah, no,
exactly.
It's just another. It's kind of like yours and Dodge's, where it's like, I want to see what happens. Like, I'm just excited.
If you pilot it well, then everything that I just said won't matter, and you're gonna just 6-0 me. So
just make it happen. Oop. I just there we go. Okay, we're good. I accidentally pasted Ton's team into Berg's team there.
All right.
Okay, so going to Berg's team now. So Berg's team wasn't like. Berg's team was 8 Mons at the end of the draft. He had Diglett and Vulpix Alola, which was not ideal. Some changes had to be made. And I think that it was a necessary evil. It sucks, but getting rid of Meowscarada to free up some points for everything else, I think was pretty big. This team's a lot more balanced now. The core of Scizor, Garchomp, Clef is good. Like, and then like add Volcanion into that and make that the 4 core, right? That's really, really strong. It's really tough to break with any singular Mon. Clef can Wish Pass, Scizor can Roost, Garchomp just doesn't die, and all of them can be super offensive as well. Even though that is like the defensive backbone of the team, it's very bulky offense where they're going to come in, eat a hit, and then retaliate probably harder. And then Glade and Alakazam they kind of do the same thing but on different sides. And I think they're just going to overwhelm other teams where Scizor can just end up Swords Dancing once and Bullet Punch cleaning. The team needed a little bit of ground help, and Vikavolt definitely helps with that.
I'm a big believer in Terra Vikavolt, coming off just using it.
Yep.
I think that it's a great Mon. It hits super hard, first of all.
Yep, absolutely.
It gets webs. A Terra Electric on that just has 0 weaknesses, unless you're facing Zygarde, which there is one in the league, I believe.
That is true. Yep.
But
yeah, I think Vikavolt with webs too is going to be really fun, because then you can run like Defiant Tornadus sets, and like switch into a Defog, get the boost, or your evasion drops, but then your attack boosts by 2. What was it? Oh yeah, Pikachu is insane value at one point. That may have been an oversight in the tier list, but
it's there now, so we
bank error in your favor.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Pikachu brings the BST of this team down like so much, but it's also like
it's fake.
It's fake, right? It's essentially a Azumarill, in terms of attack and special attack.
Yeah. Light Ball is an item that exists.
Light Ball is so good.
And it gets Surf, it gets Fake Out, it gets Nuzzle. You can get a lot of mileage out of Pikachu.
And you can run Sticky Barb Clef with Magic Guard, and that can be your knockoff switch in. And now you neutered something that would be hurting your Pikachu. That can just end games on its own. Yeah, I think this team it has a baseline of what Berg is comfortable with, but it also is going to force him to branch a little bit more and play more offensively, which I think that's something that Berg hadn't done a ton up to this season. I think a lot of it had been use defensive cores and switch passively into safe switches, and then chip away and then hopefully
Mhm.
sweep. But
Yep.
this one, there will be some doubles that have to be made, and that's something I want to see in Berg's game is switching in with your Garchomp into something that you know can't touch you, and then immediately calling what they're going to switch into your Garchomp, and you switch out into whatever is going to threaten that thing.
Yeah.
That is the top level of playing the game, and I know that's probably asking a shitload of somebody who's only been playing Pokemon competitively for 2 years, but that I think is really what Berg's missing from really piecing together the entire battling puzzle, and I'm hoping this team kind of has the pieces that will allow him to unlock that.
Yeah, and I think with that is when you start playing like that, you will make mistakes, but
Yep.
it doesn't matter until playoffs. Is what I'll tell Berg is use that season to like learn to make those reads and have fun with it, and then in playoffs you can really just turn it on. And if that hasn't worked for you, then you can always return to your ways, I guess. But
Yeah, right. You
like,
still got 4 moves
explore with
right
that
now.
team because it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, like if you don't like it, we unfortunately would have to get rid of some offensive pieces to, move things around or whatever, but like that's not the end of the world. Like that's totally fine. But yeah, with that, enough about Berg's team. We'll go over to E's team now. We only got 3 left to touch on here.
Oh, damn. Flying through.
Almost done.
Where's the... I'm on... Lavender Town. Alright.
Yep, the Ghouls. So the lowest BST in the entire league, even though their Mega has 700. But that's because they have the GOAT Trapinch on the team.
And Impy Dimp.
Trapinch is so good.
Trapinch is pretty good.
It's so good. When we were making like changes to his original team, I'd never even considered taking Trapinch off for a second. The only change ended up being
First
dropping
name down
Samurott for Persian.
on the starting lineup.
Yes. Like generational talent, running the back-to-back seasons. All right, so this is the Coco team. Coco, Booster Energy Moth, Unburdened Hitmonlee, Mega Garchomp. Holy crap. And
Rotom Wash.
By the way, yeah.
Give it a little bit more oomph,
Right, Rotom Wash and Aegislash sitting down there in the free slot.
Casually hanging out.
Just whatever. It's cool. Yeah, this team kind of is like the normal team where it has like a Blissey backbone, except it has really bulky things like Rotom, Aegislash, and Garchomp, and even Persian.
Persian Alola on the physical side,
Yep, fur coat. Yep.
Another one of these mons with the fake.
Fake BST. It's more like 130 or 140 defense.
Yeah. It has the drawback of being weaker to fire, but I don't think there's many.
Actually,
it was that Fluffy.
Yeah, so I think that's Fluffy.
I might be thinking of Fluffy.
No, so I did the exact same thing. Fur coat literally just doubles defense.
Yeah,
like that's
sorry.
it.
Sorry, chat. I am incorrect.
No, because I was saying the same thing earlier. I was like, is this team kind of weak to fire after that? And then I was like, wait, stop being an idiot. No, it's a different ability altogether. Not beware your goat.
Oh, my goat, truly. But still think a fire type could end up causing a couple issues to that team.
Yeah.
But you do have Trapinch that if it can take that hit, it can then, trap and then.
A Violate Trapinch with EQ absolutely can do that. Plus, getting rid of a fire type for Moth would be pretty cool if you wanted to do a booster speed sort of cleaning set 1 week. I think this team is literally pivot between Rotom, Coco, Blissey. You keep cycling over and over and over with those over, and then Aegislash kind of comes in on a fighting type move, right? And then go back to one of those pivot, and then very similar to Zard X, Garchomp comes in, SD, Scale Shot, dead. That's it. Over.
Yeah. And I think, I know Impidimp is a mon that, Paul has drafted before that sometimes just to make up the point count. But I think that having the Prankster screens and a Dark type you're gonna get some momentum out of it. You're gonna get something out of it. So
Mhm. Yeah,
Don't be
parting
afraid.
shot, dual screens. I want to say it gets some sort of status moves as well. So it's very
the same
passive.
if it's the same as Grimsnarl, you should get Thunder Wave.
It does. Yep.
Which we want E with a prankster mon with Thunder Wave, right? That's something that we all want to deal with.
And it's 55 special tech. Obviously, that's nothing to write home about, but it's not like it's not 0. It's not really, really awful, because like if you look at Persian, that's 60 and 75. So yeah, it's you can run D-Gleam or D-Gleam. But yeah, light screen, reflect, parting shot, T-Wave, light clay. That's it. That's all you need. But yeah, Coco can also do screens on this team too. So like you can't look at this team and be like, oh, Impidip's not coming, I don't have to worry about screens. No, Coco is a really good dual screener as well. Garchomp's setting up spikes for the team, Blissey setting up the rocks, Hitmonlee getting rid of them, especially with Terra Steel. Hitmonlee, I think, was one of the better unburdened Terra captains he could have taken. It was either that or like a Driflim. He did want Sceptile, but then the points weren't going to end up making that work out. Sceptile would have been really cool in this slot, but I think taking Hitmonlee and still keeping Aegislash is probably just the optimal thing to do anyway.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, looking at his team, I'm glad that he didn't get Halucha, because I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Good save on your part.
Absolutely intentional.
Yep.
What else? Obviously Aegislash. I'm trying to see if anything we missed. I mean, Mega Garchomp is not my favorite because it loses speed, if I'm not mistaken. But 170 base attack. So,
right, and that was a bigger issue Gen 7 and Gen 6 because Scale Shot wasn't a move. And now that it has Scale Shot...
I hadn't thought of that.
Exactly. So. It's looking pretty good.
Yep. So yeah, I guess find a way to not get revenge kill by a Weavile, something like that, and then your Garchomp should be pretty durable. Losing that what's it called? Rough skin ability makes,
Yeah.
even more Weavile fodder.
But
once again, talk about if the worst thing you can do to your team is one Pokemon, then you're fine for 15 other scenarios.
So E is not above taking weather into his own hands. I'm just looking through real quick to see if any of his mons. I mean, Trapinch obviously gets it, but something a little more consistent gets Sandstorm, and then he starts running some Sand Force, Earthquakes, and Iron Heads.
Yeah, that could be a problem. And Stone Edges as well.
Stone Edges, right.
I feel like
it's got the right coverage for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like, one of the Chanseys or something like that might be able to whip something up.
Yeah, Blissey probably has it.
I'm not super familiar with weather coverage, but...
Chansey gets it, so then Blissey definitely would.
So there you go. 1 week, you can just send that up and...
Yep, and then set up your... Yep, you get a Scale Shot going, and you don't even have to SD, because you already have a Life Orb boost on your Earthquake and Iron Head, or Stone Edge.
Yeah, and you also just have 170 base attacks. So.
Yeah, that'll do it.
They're just all reasonable.
Alright, Cordell's team is the most changed team since the draft, and the draft was only 5 days ago. Let me highlight them. Scissor, Zygarde, and Flamigo, I believe, are the only mons that he drafted that are still on the team.
Fascinating.
Because he started with Mega Manectric, and then started moving down the list.
Where? 1 second. There we go. Seviper was under the OG ones because that was
Right, that was the final pick, I believe.
Yeah, and that was one that I snuck to him, and he was actually a big fan of.
Oh, that's right. He made 7 moves, but it was to add and drop Manetric in tier 5 for Golduck. That was it. Got it.
See.
I was like, there's 7. Okay, so he's kept 4. Flamigo, Zygarde, Scizor, and Seviper, I believe. I think
Yeah, I guess he just
Flamigo
wasn't
was
feeling
there.
super comfortable with what he had drafted, and I think a couple of things that he wanted got taken.
Mhm.
So I think he ended up finding himself in a situation where he kind of was just navigating on the vibes, and I think he didn't end up liking the vibes.
Right.
I think that what he's got right now is pretty good. The average of 100 attack is quite high.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got some really good special attackers. Maybe lack a little. He's got a pretty well-rounded like BST, across the board. What is something that I'm seeing here?
No, I mean,
think
there's no like massive hole. Like if there is any sort of weakness, it might be he's a little weak to ground. Type
I was thinking a
moves.
little weak to another like ice/freeze dry kind of moment. Because if you look at the top line,
Yeah,
but again, freeze dry is such a
it's a cheap move.
it's not niche, but it's
it's not well distributed.
mhm.
Yeah, and especially in a league where we are not using a Kyurem and nobody has like Frostlass.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I think the 2 freeze dry users are on the same team, Galele and Iron Bundle on Tan's team. Which
So
is
that's
actually
something you're definitely getting away with here.
that's actually kind of smart though, drafting Rain and taking freeze dry yourself. Like, nope. My water types resist ice.
You can't do this to me. And that's a good strat. I think again, one of these teams that can really quickly overwhelm you offensively. I can't remember if we have to turn 1 Mega or
We do
Megas. In which case, Gyarados has a couple options of come in, intimidate, then you wanna maybe do that a couple of times and wait for that right opportunity, or you just wanna come in once and then lose your rocks weakness because you think they're gonna go up.
Or you can come in normal DD, get a kill on a sack,
Moxie up,
Moxie boost. Yep.
I
Actually,
think that's pretty good.
Okay, so Gyarados, Nathan's team a little bit, possibly with like some sort of sun can use Chlorophyll, Veno, and then E's team keeping Garchomp at 102 speed. That might be useful. But outside of that, yeah, no, that's it. Every other Mega would prefer to Mega on turn 1, like, because I think the bigger ones in the format that we could have used that would rather be normal for multiple turns would have been Sharpedo, it would have been Slowbro, potentially Audino for Regenerator. And I mean, honestly, that might be it in terms of Megas that I would be wanting to keep normal.
I'm trying to think. I
think that
my
is
Beedrill's
it.
definitely going as soon as I can.
Yeah, I think it's Sharpedo, Slowbro, and like possibly make the argument for Audino. I think everybody else really enjoys getting their new ability or their 100 stats.
For sure.
I was a little disappointed in Cordell for picking up Sandy Shocks because I play him week 1, and before Sandy Shocks, he actually did not have a single hazard setter on that team, which is not to be too punny, but it was shocking that you could draft a team of 10 that didn't have a single hazard setter.
Not even Zygarde?
No, and not he doesn't, like, Seviper doesn't get T-spikes either.
That's crazy.
Right. So there was nothing. I was like, oh, well, I don't even know if Moltres looks good because of Zygarde, but I'm just not going to run boots on it because I don't need to. This is insane.
Until you get core change from setting your own hazards.
Right.
And that you just don't set them.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. That's the idea. But I think Zygarde is possibly broken, maybe not. I don't know. It's why it's in the 17. It's like it's up there. It's won a championship in our league, season 2 with Tommy. it is really hard to kill, and I think glaring stuff for Gyarados to allow more setup opportunities, or to glare a Scarfer, so you only need +1 on Gyarados to get past stuff, is really cool synergy. Obviously, the typings line up really well too, and that's just an overwhelming Dragon Dance combo between Psychic and Gyarados. Special breakers, not too crazy on the team. Like, Specs Meloetta will hit hard. Booster special attack Sandy Shocks does hit hard, but neither of them are like pure straight up wall breakers, in my opinion.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to that is you gotta be careful. Don't let Comfy set up.
Yes.
Because triage is an ability that exists.
Triage is good.
Yeah, so if this gets a Calm Mind or two, I'm pretty sure it gets stored power.
Yep.
You can end up putting yourself in an awkward situation. I think Seviper, as I was telling you, is a great pickup. I've always said Seviper is better than 1 point. It's got 100 base attack and special attack. It removes toxic spikes. It's got crazy good coverage. It gets Flamethrower, Giga Drain, Earthquake, Gunk Shot, Trailblaze, Swords Dance, like Glare. It can do a lot of things for a 1-pointer. And it's got Infiltrator. So,
well, hopefully Cordell puts your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. You know, I had thought about using it as a Terra Captain before. I might be deluded. That's been known to happen. But I think that there's something to be done here, and I think Flamigo is going to be very hard to wall. Scrappy is also an ability that exists.
Yeah, that's not a fun one to switch into at all.
I'm saying you went flying, I believe it's steel and ground.
Yep. Yeah, that's not fun.
I might have gone, if I was him, I would have gone maybe flying and fighting for Terra types.
Sure, and then ground for coverage.
Yeah, I think that just a scrappy close combat, like boosted with Terra fighting, is just that hard to deal with. Because there's no immunities, you have to resist it. So that would just be like my nitpick, I guess. Here, I'm not sure you need a defensive Terra and Flamigo. I guess it's gonna be good against the fairies and I guess the psychic types. But I think it's one of these mons that I just wouldn't put in that situation to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, we know it from Mega Lopunny that fighting plus normal is really all you need. It's cool to have something coverage-wise that could hit something 4 times super effectively. But, you know, Steel isn't going to be that type that's doing that for you. Steel is going to be something that's going to allow you to live more hits, but when your 2 moves are Brave Bird and Close Combat that you're going to be spamming, it doesn't it doesn't really matter what type you are afterwards, because you're not going to want to eat something after.
And it doesn't have the biggest bulk either. 74 defense, 64 SPDF.
But it really is just going to be Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Terra Flying, and you just deal with it.
Yep.
Like,
so again, you know, if y'all getting annoyed at me for nitpicking, I think that's why we do those like little breakdowns. I think that Flamigo would have been just that much more scary with the Terra fighting. But a Terra Ground is also going to be hard to deal with because you no longer want to have that electric type in front of it. Just a little, I guess I don't value that defensive Terra as much on a mon like Flamigo.
I think I think that's a fair analysis.
But make it be that you actually 1 week live that hit and check a big threat with it, and you know, I'll swallow my words. But I hope he does that. And Meloetta is very good. Golduck is a good old water type. I think Cloud9 is gonna have a lot of value into a lot of matchups. You can really shut down a bunch of teams with that. So there you go. Yeah,
and Golduck's going to be really good into the rain matchup too for Swift Swimming. Just countering some other teams. And okay, so I was trying to buy some time for Nate to hop in, but looks like they are busy, so that is all good. Yeah, so the Mega Venu, Iron Valiant, Heatran, Gliscor core. Holy freaking moly, man. Oh, I'm having a dog delivered to my lap.
Very fun, very fun.
Hi, Luna. She didn't want to get up here earlier.
Off rip, I'm going to talk about the one mon that I had in mind is that Terra Flygon. I think that's an incredible value. And I think this is one that does get that value out of a defensive Terra. I think that Terra
to let it set up
is that much more threatening here because you have Levitate. So what can hit you now? A fire type, a fighting type. A fire type doesn't really want to be in front of Flygon.
Well, right, that's the thing. It's not going to be clicking that fire type move into you in the first place.
Exactly. Terra Bug is amazing. First impression is a move that exists. I am a big believer in making a good first impression.
I am too. That's what I would do with a Trapinch.
Yeah. So this is basically Trapinch on crack. A Trapinch that can do a lot more. I think a pick that kind of fell under the radar was Starmie. I think Starmie is an incredible mon. I think Natural Cure plus an Analytic is very, very good. I remember watching one of those Fall Swipe Gaming videos on Starmie, and they're saying that despite how fast Starmie is, it still gets Analytic to proc often because it forces switches. And so that 100 special attack is now more, and it's very fast. So even if it's not getting a switch, it's gonna hit something first. It can. I think it has U-turn. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it gets some sort of momentum.
It gets teleport and flip turn, I believe.
Flip turn. There you go.
And so with like you were saying with Analytic with Starmie, since it's fast, you get to just attack what's in front of you. And then if they switch, it's going to do more damage into whatever's resisting the move you just went for. So it's like it's so brain dead in that sense, which is perfect. That's how you build teams. You build teams so you don't have to think in the game. Once people realize that thinking in the game is like the worst thing you can do, you get so much better at the game. If you can make plays that are so safe and are always going to force progress, that's just the play you make every time. And yeah, Starmie's fantastic with that. Good removal to pair with, like, you don't want to run Gliscor as a defogger most weeks because you want to run it with spikes, and then you want to be able to spin away any other hazards. But what are we looking at here on the team? What is weak to hazards? Nothing. Like, it's like set up rocks. It's like everything's neutral. Set up spikes. All right. Well, Gliscor and Flygon do not care. Venusaur has recovery. Leech Seed. Yeah, I think Starmie is the perfect piece in the middle here because it doesn't have to come every week. Like but it's more than welcome to. Obviously, I could see a team where it's just like these top 5 plus Gliscor. Just take the good stuff. But I think some of the low tiers here have a ton of value, especially Florges. Because that allows it allows Heatran to be offensive some weeks where and you can run Spadef Venu, you can run Spadef Gliscor, but if you just bring Florges, that allows all the other things to not have to worry about Spadef, and Florges is like, I got it. And then I'll throw you a wish for your efforts on the offensive front.
I think, like I agree with all you said. Low Punny, I think, is going to be probably one of the least impactful pieces.
Watch out for the teeter dances, bro.
I think base Low Punny does not live up to the Mega, obviously. But it can still have some utility, I think. Klutz, you can maybe tech something with that. 1 week you want to trick something. Q-Charm, if you want to RNG a little bit your way. I think Limber can be a good status absorber if you're worried about, you're playing against E, for example, and you're worried about T-Wave spam.
It is very real.
you have Gliscor and Lopunny that can actually really absorb status and Starmie with Natural Cure. So, immunity to toxic spikes on a couple of things, and you have 2 Mons that can just straight up remove them. So I think
And
now that I look at it more, I think
Floor just gets aromatherapy back too.
So now that I look at this team, it's not a team that you're really going to be statusing a lot. You want to click Will-O-Wisp, you Will-O-Wisp into a Flash Fire from Heatran, then you got to deal with the consequences. Gliscor is going to be,
oh my gosh,
poison offer it.
This is
that's now that I'm
insane.
seeing this, you don't really status that team, and that's actually massive.
Right, because like kind of with Ty's team is like Ty's not statusing anybody else with it, so it's just pure skill diff. Nathan has 100% autonomy to status everybody else. There's no punishment for somebody throwing a status move back at their team. There's no reason why anybody would even think that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, they got full autonomy on that. You're right, and you can, I don't. that really just started coming up to me how many like, status immunities there are.
That's so cool too with like a endgame Valiant where they can just like not worry about T-waves being thrown around and could possibly use it in the mid game, even if it is a booster speed. Like it's not going to be neutered for the end game. It can still use its 116 speed or whatever at the end. Now that is another point. The team overall, the top end speed is not top end. But
same as Dawn, I'd say you can make that comment. I guess that things can be a little on the slow side.
It's like it's like evolved Dawn. Like this is the next evolution up, where it is higher on average. And if you look at the top 2, Iron Valiant, Starmie, and Flygon, historically are all going to be at +1 speed. So, like, it's pick your poison between if something's going to be Scarfed, booster speed, or Starmie getting a rapid spin.
Yeah. No, looking at the team, I think Nathan can really pace the game. They can really get their pace. I think Quillfish Hisui is going to be really good. It's not going to have a lot of recovery, but Intimidate, Poison Point, like they get to status things back, and they get to absorb any prankster shenanigans. You want to T-Wave with a prankster, you want to do any of that, you can't. So I think there's going to be a lot of pacing with this team, and I think Nathan can really just dictate the tempo of a game with a team like this.
I do want to see at some point this season Nathan use a Reflect type Starmie.
Well, that's going to be an advanced cook.
Yes, but it will happen.
Yeah, but I think
we will
Nathan
make it happen.
Did a good job at drafting a well-rounded team. Maybe a little bit on the slow side. If you look at the HP total, I guess it's a little low in a sense, but I think the Mons overall like make that up by having a higher defensive stat somewhere, like Florges, Venusaur Mega, 123 defense, 120 special defense with thick fat. It's going to be bulky. It's going to be hard to kill. So I think that Nathan's going to have to be comfortable with dictating the game. And if they get in that position, then they can really threaten a lot of teams. Just because Wish from Forges, Gliscor, Poison Heal, like can be hard to wear down, because Forges can pass some fat wishes, I think. Even though the stat is not that high, if you look at the average HP, everything's around Forges, so everything's gonna get about half.
Exactly. Yeah, it's free.
Those wishes. So those defenses are gonna, be helpful because the HP is a bit lower. So excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Well, that is every team in the league, and once again, I mean, I really can't say thank you enough to everybody for making that stream super easy Friday night. Just getting through all of it and in one go without any catastrophic point failures. There were a couple bad ones, but nothing terrible, nothing we couldn't fix. But yeah, I got something in the works for my draft breakdown, and what I'm going to do with videos this season. But sometime next week, don't know if it's going to be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, catch us back here for a live stream breakdown of week 1.
That'll be fun.
That is the plan. But yeah, all right. Well, thanks for MJC for hanging out.
Yeah, hopefully people will enjoy some of the things we've said. I'm sure we didn't cover everyone's vision of their teams, but we obviously can't do that. But
Exactly right.
Can't spoil it all, and I'm sure that we'll see things that we didn't even think about.
Yeah, there's one specific mon with one specific move that I need to DM the coach about right now before I forget.
So you've said, but yeah, hopefully people enjoy watching this this breakdown. This ended up being like 2 hours long.
I know,
but
right?
Over like listening to them on the drive to work with a lunch or something.
Exactly. Leave a comment, leave a like, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace. Oh man, what a stream.